This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1621, Improv edition.
You got it on Wednesday, and you was psyched about it going to the volume up. These guys will talk about it, everything that geeks love. From cakes to laser beams, opinions like the seasons, and everything you read in comics, movies, games, toys, artists, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek. Uniting the world's mightiest heroes, this is...
I'm Brian Chrisman.
I'm Shane Kelly.
I'm Adam Murdo.
I'm Peter Rios.
Comic Geek Speak.
And welcome to the show.
Hi ho.
We're not sure what we're going to do here. This is sort
We're
of
here.
maybe it's maybe musical show. You never know.
Improv. We sing, we dance, we do a little romance. Bop, 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 bop.
I think with the last part.
Maybe for you, I'm married.
I meant here on the show.
Okay.
Well, so anyway, we had a plan for an episode that didn't quite come through, so
That'll come through later.
hopefully so. We're here, so let's do a show. I don't know. Is everything going to be a surprise?
Make a movie. Yeah, it's gonna be a podcast
ending everybody.
and me
So
to the
anyway,
world. Da 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 da.
so we have on the show Peter the Rios. How you doing, Peter?
Hey, let's do it for Gene Wilder.
Okay, sure. Why not?
I saw Wayne's post about favorite movies, and I kept meaning to go back to it and post a picture of a movie and what I like, like what my favorite movies were about it. And one that I don't think anybody would think of was Hanky Panky. I love Hanky Panky. Gilda Radner's in it, and Gene Wilder gets totally innocent, and he gets caught up in this whole spy thing going on. Any chance that sucker's on, I'll watch it. It's not the funniest breakout comedy kind of thing. It was completely different than anything he had done. And Gilda was on it, so it was a lot of fun to watch. But I'll watch that anytime I can.
Of course, because Gene Wilder passed away yesterday as we recorded this, and we were talking more before we came in here, and I got scolded quite murd-like for never having seen not only Willy Wonka.
You got off easier than you would have gotten if Jamie were here.
You never saw Willy Wonka ever.
And Young Frankenstein.
Oh my God!
I know.
That's my favorite.
I mean, bits and pieces. Never saw the whole thing all the way
Oh,
through.
that's
but I was saying,
a Halloween ritual.
I love Silver Streak. I haven't seen that one, but
Silver
I love
Streak's
Silver
great.
Streak. Very good.
So was Stir Crazy, and there was another one that they did after that.
You said
See
was
no
it?
evil, hear
See no
no
evil, hear no
Because
evil.
Fuzzy Wuzzy was a woman. Peter posted that on Facebook.
Yeah. I saw that in a movie theater, actually, and that line broke the house.
Oh, man, Stir Crazy.
I was looking
that
through
was fabulous.
some of his, and I didn't know about, there's something called The Adventure of Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother.
I know of it. I don't know that I've ever seen it.
I'd be interested to see that one.
It had Dom DeLuise in it.
Yeah, and Madeline Kahn
Oh, yeah.
and Marty Feldman.
Oh,
Marty Feldman
wow.
was-
There was also one he did in more recent years with, is it Mary Stuart Masterson? He played a cartoonist, a newspaper strip cartoonist, and I think his name was Duffy in the movie. I have to look that up too. I didn't get that far in my looking at it. But that was a pretty good movie for something newer. I want to say in the 90s that came out. I'll watch that one too when it's on. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's funny stuff happens in that one. The Woman in Red, I love that one. That's a great movie for odd weird shtick.
So looking that movie up, it's Funny About Love, the one you were talking about.
Okay.
Leonard Nimoy was the director.
Yes, and that's the picture I saw recently. I couldn't figure out what they did, and I didn't. Again, I saw it during the workday, and I didn't get to look up and see what that picture was from. That would make sense. Yeah, I enjoyed that movie. I think I went to the theater to see that, just because Gene Wilder was in it and he hadn't done anything for a while at that point.
Yep. He had kind of all but let his acting career lapse because he was so busy campaigning for a cure for whatever it was that took Gilda Radner away from it. And I think he actually suffered from a form of
Alzheimer's?
That's what ultimately took his life. But I mean, earlier, one of my coworkers yesterday looked this up on her phone. He had a form of sarcoma, I think. And he, around the same time that Gilda Radner died, he actually beat it. He went into remission. And then he started doing activism to try to find a cure for the disease that killed Gilda Radner. And I think that's the reason why for much of the 90s he wasn't doing much acting.
God, I love Frankenstein.
And I remember when Peter was doing that as a production down at the theater, he really wanted you, Mert, to go out for the role.
Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't be a part of your cast there, Peter, but I couldn't even get to see the show in the end because we just dragged our feet, tried to get ourselves out there, and you warned us, but the tickets sold out from under us.
That's okay.
At least we got to see the Music Man.
Actually, it's a good segue because we went to go see the Music Man not too long ago. All of us in the room.
So much fun.
As well as Matt. That was a lot of fun because that was my first time seeing it in any way, shape, or form.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Oh, I know. There's plenty of things I want to see.
I'm not very cultured, obviously.
Oh, the Music Man. That's a lot of fun. Pick a little, tuck a little, pick a little.
And there were even little comic book references.
Oh, yeah. So, why don't you talk about it, Peter?
Well, the first one is actually in the script. So Music Man was written in 1957. Prior to 1957. That's when it was on Broadway. And it takes place in 1912. So some of the references are a little out of the timeline. But
like an anachronism, I guess.
In Trouble, he makes reference to Captain Billy's Whiz Bang. It was a comic that introduced Captain Thunder, I think, first, and then Captain Marvel. I forget. I can't remember.
Well, Captain Billy's Whiz Bang wasn't actually a comic. It was like a little humor magazine, like a digest-sized joke book published on a monthly basis. But it was the foundation of Captain William Fawcett's publishing empire that ultimately gave birth to Whiz Comics and Captain Marvel.
Right.
And that's where Whiz Comics title came from Captain Billy's Whiz Bang.
And then the second one was just something I threw in as sort of you could almost think of it as like a segue into a scene where a bunch of people are watching ladies perform this very modern-esque, at the time anyway, little celebration. And they started off with one, and then two, and then we cut away to another scene, and we come back, and she says 51, and then she says 52.
52.
Oh my God! When I heard 51, I looked at Shane and Murder. Oh my God, 52! I enjoyed that very much.
So I knew not many people would get it, or anybody except you guys and myself. It was more just to make me laugh.
And it still fit like it was supposed to be there.
It was supposed to be some ridiculously high number, and why not?
Right.
Why not
a
52?
geeky high number?
Yeah.
Love that so much. And it was a really fun night. Of course, it was a buffet dinner we had before the show started. And of course, whenever I go out, these guys, I always feel like they're watching me eat and taking notes or whatever. And sure enough, when we got there, I guess Aaron, Peter's girlfriend said, "Oh, by the way, he told the chef to make more shrimp tonight." And then I listened to Peter's episode about when we were there, and he mentions that. Pants had a bunch of shrimp. It's like, come on, leave me alone. But it was a really, really fun night. We had a good seat right there in the front there because we knew the director.
Between the stage and the buffet, there we were.
Yeah,
that's correct.
A couple of cast kept coming by asking us questions. That was fun.
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, before this even started, or no, actually, was it before
it started?
They had a trivia question, and enter Mr. Murdo over here.
Yeah, I'm 2 for 2 now on pre-show trivia questions at the Candlelight Dinner Theater to win free desserts. They asked a question at Spam-A-Lot, like who played Sir Lancelot in the original Broadway production, and Peter and I were sitting together. I muttered to Peter, "It's Hank Azaria." And Peter said, "Well, get your hand up." So I did, and they made fun of me for sitting next to the director and
knowing that
having had like an illegal inside connection.
Run away.
And so I answered this question too and got the free brownie sundae.
Well, the question being, of course,
which famous director played Winthrop in the 1962 new film version? And the answer was Ron Howard, a young, redheaded Ron Howard. I think this is pre-Opie. I'm not sure.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Well,
Wow.
Yeah, when did the Andy Griffith Show come on the
I
air?
think it came in 1960.
No, in that case,
Mid-Opie.
But as I think we might have mentioned, but that this is Murd's favorite musical.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, our server was, it's a tradition at the Candlelight Dinner Theater that members of the cast come down and also act as servers. And it so happens that the daughter of the mayor of River City, Zanita Shin, was our server. And I just looking
called
at her,
that.
I knew she was Zanita. She was the embodiment, the very personification of Zanita Shin.
We were there all of 5 minutes, and he's like, I'll bet you she plays.
The mayor's daughter.
Yep. And the production was excellent as well. Peter, you had a really talented bunch of singers and dancers up there. And we went over Charlie Cowell, the Anvil salesman, was terrific. You had a great bunch of pick a little, talk a little women up there. The Marion the librarian was one of the strongest players in the cast overall.
The costumes were spectacular. The subtle set changes for different areas without having to have tons of different sets around worked perfectly, and I loved all the little signage changes to show that. It was a lot of fun. It was a great production.
Yeah, they really brought it together, and the last count was 98% tickets sold for the entire run, which was
Wow.
might be a record.
Wow.
Very
People love their classics, man.
Yeah.
It's hard to go wrong with the music, man. I've always thought.
And I was fascinated by the fact that Peter directed the production, but once the show starts its run, he's pretty much you're pretty much hands off, aren't you, Peter?
Oh yeah, I mean, in union cases, there are a lot of rules about when you can give notes, when you can't give notes. You have to give them through the stage manager. You can't give them half hour before the show starts. And a lot of it is, you want them to feel like it's their production. They're the ones on the stage doing it. They're the ones that get to feel out the audience. So at some point, it's there's a quote that I always like, that a director abandons a show on opening night. Doesn't necessarily, because it's like you just got to stop working on it. But then it's really up to the cast, and they're the ones that have a feel for how the show moves and how it moves backstage and on stage. And if I'm not up there doing it, I'm not really going to have that sense. I know what the pacing is, and I can sort of give them notes on what's working and what's not working. But you got to let the show grow. You got to let it settle in. And, so I try to not see the show the second weekend after it opens. I let them, that way they can go have fun and keep to what I want them to do, but, don't go crazy.
I know you talked about how you brought some of the action off the stage and around in front on the sides and stuff. I really enjoyed that. I like it in any production that I've ever seen, when people come off the stage and go through the audience in some fashion. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm like Todd McFarlane. I break the panels.
Nicholas, didn't somebody ask you for some sort of instrument or whatever, Murd?
There was an instrument. There was directions.
Yeah, that's right. Harold Hill himself came down off the stage and offered to sell me a Larousophone.
Oh, yeah.
It was a French version of a sousaphone.
And once or twice he commented about how quiet the audience
group,
was.
Yeah.
We were in awe of the production.
It was good.
Poking
It was
his
a lot of
fist right
fun.
through the floor.
Well, again, do I hoot and holler? Yeah, Peter! Or I don't know. I just enjoy. I laughed when I felt I needed to laugh.
I thought you were going to do
doing your bit
Freebird!
down there.
I mean, even at the intermission when they were drawing tickets, I laughed, and the guy said, "Yeah, keep that up." I've always been told if anybody needs a plant in the audience for a good laugh for a comedian, I'm your man. Basically.
It's all those years of watching Ed McMahon.
My laugh is quite infectious. There's no cure for it. So anyway, it was really funny.
It was.
And Matt seemed to enjoy himself, even though he sort of protested a little bit.
Yeah, well, he took the seat with his back to the stage, so
That was by design.
yeah. I think we let him have it.
That's right.
Well, it was because I got there first. Ooh, I'm going to get this seat. And actually, I should have we actually talked on the way down. He said, "Can you give me a bit of a buffer between me and Murn in case you start singing during the show?" So I forgot about that entirely.
He didn't get it.
Yeah, he didn't.
And he was very acutely aware of my humming and tapping my foot along with all the musical numbers.
Yeah.
And once I caught wind that he was aware of my doing this, I did it even louder.
Blood's thicker than water.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But, yeah, musical or no musical, and a good musical it was.
Yeah.
Even for those of us who don't enjoy musicals usually.
I love musicals.
Of which there were one of us, Matt.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just good to get out there and just have fun together as a group.
Yes.
We even hit a comic shop on the way. We had some time to kill, and Pans was like, I think there's a shop nearby. Son of a gun, around the corner, maybe 2 miles away at most. Boom, comic shop.
Mm-hmm. The comic shop, right there.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
comic
Down in
shop.
Wilmington.
Yep.
And
And,
It was
Peter,
a nice store.
Yeah, Peter, you mention was made that there was another pretty good comic shop in that area, but a little further away.
Well, I mean, that one you're talking about, the one that's in the strip mall, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one is, that's literally right around the corner from the theater.
It's fabulous.
It's really great. They have a lot of signings and special events and clubs, book clubs. Every now and then they break out their 50-cent collection. And I know the last time I was there for a 50-cent sale, they had modern stuff even.
Wow.
You know. It was like spillover stuff, right? Like stuff they ordered too much of. The other store is, it's called Second and Charles.
Oh, I know of that store.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a comic store. It's
Yeah.
a used book, DVD,
Yep.
records.
Video games.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of stuff that you find in the back of the previous catalog.
Yeah, so you can go and they often will purchase things from you, and you can either get cash or, like if you bring a whole bunch of DVDs that they want, or movies, or, CDs or records or old books. So you can get cash or you can get credit, and I want to say the credit you get a little bit more if you use credit.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
So their comic section, they have all the new stuff. They have back issues, and every now and then they'll have a whole bunch of boxes. If you look through, they'll have 25-cent comics, 50-cent. It's been skewing up to about 75 and $1, but when I first went there maybe 2 years back, I came away with about $80 comics, most of them for 25 cents.
Nice.
So I think I barely broke $20 for, because of the few. And some of them were great, like prestige comics, $4, $5 comics. Every now and then I would catch one of those $8 comics of reprints of something I would want, and there it is for 50 cents. It's like, of course I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, there's one close to where we were always at soccer tournaments near Christiana, and there's one out towards York in Pennsylvania too. I've spent hours in there looking at books. I found some old book club hardback Star Trek novels from 70s, 80s, whenever they were first coming out, and I picked up a couple of those when I found them. It's a lot of fun to look around there. You can find some neat stuff.
Yeah, every now and then I'll take a 20 and I'll walk out of there with 40 books, 50 books. So I'm not sure how widespread it is. I know, like you said, it's here. I know there's some in like the Allentown, Bethlehem area.
I want to say there's only 3 or 4. I don't think it's – I could be wrong, but whenever I saw a flyer, there were only a few stores listed on the flyer. It wasn't like a chain across the country kind of thing. But maybe it is, and they only advertise in blocks of the area they're in.
Yeah. I don't do the conventions thing anymore, right? It's been a long time since I've been to a convention. Pants, I know you're going to Baltimore, but for me to pay $45 for a ticket to get in, I might as well just go take that to Wild Pig or somewhere.
Yeah. That hurts going as time marches on.
Yeah, it's tough, but some of these conventions, like I really do like Baltimore. It probably
Baltimore is my favorite.
Behind Heroes Con, I think Baltimore is my favorite convention to go to. First of all, it's in a wonderful location right there down by the harbor.
Love Baltimore
It's
Harbor.
easy for me to get to. And it's so much. I mean, in the last few years, they've started adding some celebrities, which I don't necessarily mind.
No.
But it's still very comic-centric. They added 60 comic guests these last week or so. I mean, some big names. So I really, and there's the great back issue shopping there. Sometimes you get it corresponding with the Diamond Retailer Summit. So there's a lot of more. Like, I think Dave the Deal's going to be there Friday. You get some of the muckety-mucks showing up every now and then.
Sometimes it corresponds with the Yankees game, which
there's actually
can be travel hectic.
The Yankees are in town this weekend. Some really great panels. I think I'm going to. I didn't look at the whole schedule, but I think there's like an Archie panel I want to go to. I think Mark Wade's going to be on that panel. Like looking at that. I really do love. I've been going to Baltimore. I think. I want to say it's the longest convention that I've been going to, not necessarily consecutively, but that I've gone to that I still go to. I think the first one was like 2003 I went to there. I mean, I used to go to Pittsburgh all the time back in the late 90s, but that sort of fell off and got bought out by Wizard. But I still love going to Baltimore, and now the last few times it's been 3 days.
Yeah. I've never gone to one for 3 days. I've gone to some of them in Baltimore when they were 2 days, but never – once they added the third day, I just can't get there all 3 days.
Yeah.
Most times I get there on a Sunday, and I was planning on this year with I always take Ben down, and I was considering Ben and or Matt, whichever one wanted to or didn't want to, but I think I'm actually going to miss it this year because of their schedules now that school started. I don't think I can make it. I think they have too many games going on.
As long as it's happening on Labor Day weekend, I can't make it at all.
Yeah,
it's a great, true comic book show.
Yeah, and I mean, my friends Chris and John are flying in for the show, so we're all staying together downtown. And
that's
and if you do, if you do stay overnight, the harbor is just so much fun to go walk around. Plenty of places to eat, see, hang out. Even if you just want to sit by the water,
go to the aquarium.
It's a lot of fun. The aquarium's awesome.
National Aquarium.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. The dolphin show at the end is always great. I love it down there.
You gonna go Buzz?
Probably. I'll see Buzz and chat with him a little bit because we chatted a little bit out in San Diego, but I didn't get to have him stand still for too much, like go out and like get a dinner or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's the last time I saw him was last year's Baltimore. I got to talk to him for about a half hour while he was drawing. God, I love watching him draw stuff.
Go out and have some crab.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, Baltimore's such a great show and such great deals if you're looking for that, especially on Sunday. I love when trades and stuff start going even cheaper on Sundays. I always find a good Justice League back issue down there. I usually go through the whole retailer section at once all the way through and start jotting down aisles and store names, so to speak, so I can go back and compare some prices. And I usually get one really good back issue sometime from Baltimore.
Well,
it's a good show.
Send me your list and
I may. There's a couple issues I'm looking for.
All right. Well,
just can't find around here.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things I'm looking for. Nothing too specific, but it's just, you never know when you're going to come across some great deals.
And I think Sunday's the quote, kid-friendly day.
Yeah.
A lot of fun there, too. They do a lot of activities for kids. My boys have always enjoyed going down there when they do. One of the first times Ben went down, Peter Mayhew was a guest, and he was on like a golf cart going from where he came out, I guess, of the into the convention center and to where he was going to sign. And he's sitting on the back of it waving, and he kind of waved specifically at Ben, and Ben's like, "Oh my God, that was Chewbacca!" He was kind of cool. I got to see Kate Cassidy down there last year, and I took Ben for a surprise. He was thrilled. He's got a big smirky grin on his face, like, "Oh God, I'm really here."
Yeah, Candace Patton from The Flash is going to be there, and Haley Atwell's going to be there.
I really wanted to meet Haley Atwell.
Yeah.
You need to see Ramona Fradon.
Oh, I went. I did that last year. I got a Batman sketch.
Yeah, I mean she's 89 now, and go pull out your Aquaman or your Metamorpho and get her to sign it. Or
when I went up to her to see what sketches she had, of course it was Sunday, and she goes, "I'm really sorry, I don't have much left." And there was one Batman. I'm like, "Oh my God, this is perfect. You do not need to apologize to me for anything." I said, "I'm thrilled just to get one and meet you."
Yep, I was able to meet her and say thank you and shake her hand at the Denver convention a bunch of years ago, and she had an Eclipso sketch on her files, which suited me just fine.
Yeah. I just moved it because I rearranged some of my trades. I put it right in front of all the till I get a frame. I mean, it's been a year. I haven't gotten a frame yet, but I have it inside of a My Light comic book bag, and it's in front of my Batman trades, propped up against the one shelf arm, so it stays perfectly still, and I can see it every single time I go into the room. It's really a neat picture.
And if you can get close to him, Tom King will be down there. He might be busy this year.
Well, yeah. We've been in communication. We're trying to get him meet. We're trying to get him out in San Diego, so I have his number, so we're trying to get together down in Baltimore at some point. But yeah, he's just exploded.
Absolutely.
Good for him. I mean,
absolutely.
We talk ad nauseum about the Vision and Grayson and so forth. But
he's fabulous.
Sheriff of Babylon is awesome as well.
Yeah, I haven't read that one yet. I started some of the Vision, and I now have the 2 missing issues from Omega Men that I didn't have, so I'll sit down and read that. I'm glad he's exploded the way he has.
And this other little indie book he's on, what's it called? Oh yeah, Batman.
Yeah. Oh.
I can't imagine what it must be like for any creator that isn't that kind of has a not a slow rise, but like a sort of like a steady rise, like he has, I think of other creators, like think of Jonathan Hickman, who goes from his own indie book to basically the flagship Marvel titles and a couple of their big events. But to write Batman, I'm sure he's already thought of that too. Like, he's probably vomited a couple times because of it.
And not just Batman in something, the Batman title. The main Batman title.
Yeah. And he has to steer the ship. And look, I worked on a production that had a lot of input from the people who footed the bill, and when they start having creative input and artistic impulses, it makes for a really hard, process. So there you are writing arguably, or maybe not, the flagship character of DC Comics. And obviously because of his merit, it's not like they just gave it to him like, try this out, kid. He obviously proved himself, showed that he has chops. And then to write Batman in one of their bigger, publishing events with DC Rebirth, and all of it just, he's got to pinch himself every now and then, or
yep.
I'd be in the tub naked crying, like, oh God,
what am I doing? And talking about proving himself on something, man, Grayson was out of this world. Such a great title. If you haven't read Grayson, but you like Dick Grayson as a character, man, pick that book up. It's a lot of that I would put up there for a smaller run on something, and that's just the way it is when Rebirth came about. I'd put it up there with things that like Our Man, that 25 run of Our Man that I love so much. This is top notch stuff. I absolutely love what he did with him and Tim Seeley. Tim Seeley, right?
Yeah, that was
they did with Grayson. Such a great book.
Yeah, artwork by Mikel Janin, I think.
Which was great.
It was
very
sharp.
All fabulous.
Yeah. And think about it, a book like Grayson, even though Dick Grayson is such a pivotal DC character, the book itself, the title itself, probably they were able to get away with a little bit more than they would on a more quote unquote important book.
Yeah, possibly.
Certainly Omega Men the same way, they which was evident because they said they were going to cancel it, and then fans were like, no, and then they brought it back, Vision, I could see being that way too. It kind of maybe people are a little more hands-off editorially, which probably is the reason why a lot of his writing, also collaborating with Tim Seeley, probably, look at all the collaborators in comics. They usually churn out, if not high-grossing comics, interesting comics, right? Not that you need both, but because you get to bounce ideas off somebody, and collaboration is always great.
Yeah.
So, but not Batman. They're probably watching him on that one.
Yeah. Keep him on a slightly shorter leash, I imagine. Having read one or two samples of it, it does seem like it's a little... He's not being quite as experimental as he was on something like Omega Men or The Vision, for example. But it's still good, solid, wholesome superhero comics.
Yeah.
And very well done.
I can't even figure out how I did it with Omega Men. I was going through back issues, and you know, I'm such a mess with my organization right now as far as new stuff coming in that I have this shipment here, this shipment here, this shipment here, all in short boxes, all kind of there. And every few months I get together and start combining it all to figure out what I have and don't. And all of a sudden I'm looking, I'm like, I'm missing 9 and 11. How the hell did that happen? Crap! So I'm going through trying to find where I can buy 9 and 11 from, and I found it.
I'm right here.
He's going to Baltimore.
Going to Baltimore.
Well, I have them now.
Oh, you have them?
I found them.
What about those Vision issues?
I have 4 and 5 of the Vision I can't find anywhere.
Well,
well, I'll get there. I was going to get you a list. All right. Definitely Vision in 4 and 5.
I'll be sending you mine later on.
Okay.
I've got a couple people all over the country looking for that one. I've been to...
I'll text before I buy it. Make sure you don't.
Oh, absolutely. I've been to King of Prussia, Plymouth Meeting, Pottstown, both in Reading, and any online store that I normally would buy from, which would be like an eBay, a Mile High, a My Comic Shop. None anywhere at all. eBay, I can find it, but it's like $15-20. I'm like, ooh, I'm not quite ready to pay that for it yet, but it's coming close.
I don't know what's up with issue 4 because I need number 4 Vision too, and I'm
calling it first.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just confused. Like, I just when you said it, I was like, oh, well, that's weird. Because so did I.
I wonder if it's not because 1, 2, and 3. You know, 1 of course traditionally sells better because it's number 1. 2 usually drops off. And maybe people kind of fell away from 3 and 4 and 5, and then all of a sudden...
Wait for the trade.
Yeah. Wait for the trade, which is... I wanted a nice collection of it, and then you were talking about his letter pages. I'm like, oh, God, I got to get it now.
Maybe it took 4 months. I mean, the demand is building in the opposite direction. As it's crescendoing as the print runs are decreasing.
You get to issue 6 or so, you get the trade out, and everyone goes gangbusters, and then everyone starts buying it up. I'm like, crap. Because it was all over the place about how that first trade premiered so high on the booksellers list. Oh, just fabulous. I couldn't have been more happy for Tom if it wasn't happening that I could get to announce it to him or something, man. Anytime he posts something, I'm like, oh my God, there's something else exciting going on with his books. It's a lot of fun to watch all of this unfold for him.
Yeah, really, if you watch when Diamond puts out that their top 300 list, which no one should ever. Don't play the stock market with that list because it's never fully telling the tale. But between that list and seeing retailers talk about comics, it takes them 2 to 3 months to figure out what really their readership is going to buy, their customers, I should say. Everybody's ordering blind, Like if we order from DCBS, we order issue 1. Sure. Then we have to order issue 2. We don't even have issue 1 in our hands until maybe 3.
Yeah.
So, I saw a recent article that I think the percentage now for the top 300 list from Diamond, right? I think now only really covers maybe somewhere, I think it said somewhere between like 55 to 65% of comics that are actually all sold. When you add in bookstores and reorders and overseas, right? Because it's just the North American market. So that
it doesn't include digital comics, I don't believe either.
Right. So I mean, but I think that number was for print. I think it only really covers about 55 to 65%. So those people who are like using the top 300 to carry their torch for Marvel or DC, it's like you're a little bit foolish, like those numbers aren't real. I mean, they're real, but they're not real.
So talking about ordering stuff, I did my previews order finally late, but I got it in. For the first time in probably a year, I always, and I've said this before, I would go through and put everything on my list that as I'm going through previews, I just add whatever strikes my fancy and like. And I had been doing the Rebirth bundles because it's a great price and you get everything at one shot. Well, after my first run of this time, I was between some of the new Marvel stuff I was picking up and some trades I wanted to get and the DC stuff and a couple independent things, and all of a sudden I'm at like $245. I'm like, all right, well, this is not going to fly. So I start taking stuff away. I finally took all the bundles off. I went back and I went through those DC titles that I really, really want to read. Now, again, I've only read the first issue of some of these things, and like Peter said, you got to wait 2-3 months to get to the next where you're in the cycle.
Unless it's a twice-monthly book.
Right, but I only get my books once a month. I can't bring myself to do more.
But you get 2 at a time, then.
But I get 2 at a time, so okay.
But if you get monthly, then you're in almost 4 to 5 books.
So then I'm progressing that way, and I got it down to $112, but it was hard. And I picked out I know I want Batman and Batgirl and the Birds of Prey and this and that. There was a good 10-12 issue not this title list that I went off of, and then I'll see how I can stick to that or not. Plus the Marvel stuff and plus some indie stuff, and oh god, that's the hardest month I've had in a long time trying to whittle that down to almost nothing. Boy, that was tough, and there was no way it was going to go through with that first draft because I think my hands had gotten chopped off with that. I couldn't believe it. I just could not believe it. But there was a lot of good stuff and a lot of good prices on trades. I took most of those off because some of them were things I had and I just wanted the nicer format.
Oh, my goodness, Shane.
But if it's a nice, good hardcover or a trade paperback, like I wanted that Adam Strange Silver Age. I don't have any of those.
I got that one, yeah.
I put that one off for now. I'll pick it up somewhere. I just could not do it. I couldn't bring myself to add any more. Not when I've come off of having months where it was like $50, $60.
Yeah.
Now it's almost twice as much in like a couple months because of the Rebirth stuff and other interesting things that have come along. I'm like, I got to come back again. I got to bide my time. And I love ordering the Marvel stuff when I do find things interesting because they give you the digital code right away. And then I either read the issue or download the code, and I can get rid of the issue, whether I sell it or whether I give it to like some of my kids' friends who have interest in some of this stuff, a couple things, or I send it out. We have friends out in middle of Pennsylvania, and one of their boys was starting to read stuff and ask me questions, so I sent him a whole box of trades and issues one time. Like, that's the kind of stuff I love to do, so I don't mind necessarily buying the Marvel stuff because, especially with this digital code stuff, I can download that and then I have it to read whenever I want if I want to reread it and do something else with the issues. That's the one thing I think DC's really lacking in yet is that digital frontier for like what Marvel did. And that's fine. That's not what they want to do. That's not their model. And hey, that's fine. It's the way it is.
Makes no difference to me whatsoever.
I know.
Well, this episode has been sort of a mishmash, pulled together kind of thing. But while I have Peter on the horn here, and I don't want to put you on the spot if you didn't look at it, Peter, but did you see the article by Augie DeBleek about the end of big comic book journalism?
I did not.
Darn it.
No, I didn't. Would you want to paraphrase, or do you want to...
See, that's the thing. I'm
going to look it up a little bit.
I'm terrible at it. But basically, this is how he starts it out. He goes, "It pains me to write this, but it's just too obvious to ignore now." And then in bold letters, "Big web comic book journalism is dead as an institution." And he goes on talking about how CBR, Comic Book Resources, was just bought out, about how so much of the stuff is about movies and TV, whereas the actual comic book
That
news.
is something I found.
And again, the article, if you go to pipelinecomics.com, just search for, that's the world of comics, it's called The End of Big Comic Book Journalism. And again, it's much... I can't do it justice talking about it. I'm just not smart enough about that. But he makes some good, valid points, and I think if you have it ready, you probably should look into that.
Yeah, I'm trying to speed read, like the guy from
Great Space
Electric
Coaster?
Company.
Electric Company.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Easy Reader.
Easy Reader.
Morgan Freeman.
That's
Yeah.
But there was a speed reader on Great Space Coaster too, wasn't there?
Asking the wrong guy, Shane. That one I did not get a chance to see.
I stand alone.
I mean, first of all, I'm glad that he's back writing, taking a look at the comic industry. I'm not going to say, there's no way I'm going to say, oh my God, CBR just did a redesign, so now comics journalism is dead, because it's not like they were the champions of comics journalism before the redo of their website, which, by the way, is horrible. But what is comic book journalism? I mean, this is the thing that used to always piss me off about the Eisners, where they would have a category for, best comics journalism, print or online, and they would give it to, a website that just had, a bunch of people putting out snarky editorials or whatever. And you have magazines like the whole Tomorrow's Slate that they produce an entire book devoted to one topic and doing interviews and research, and that's comics journalism. Just somebody writing 1,000 words, 2,000 words about why they feel mainstream comics sucks for the 28th time. That's not comics journalism. And also, sticking a microphone in somebody's face is not comic book journalism either, podcasters. You know which ones I'm talking about.
Sorry.
No, not you.
Will you please talk to me?
No, not you. Like people, they're like, oh, that so-and-so podcaster, that's a true journalist because he taught. I'm like, no, that's not journalism either. Somebody go look up a definition. Take a college course. Like, these aren't journalists, Comic book journalism, nobody's going out like Peter Falk with a
Just wanted to ask you a few questions here.
Just one more thing.
And then corroborating his whatever he finds from one person with newspaper, resources or other people, or go look at this expert and talk, like that. Who does that? That's rare. But but people who, I go back to Tomorrow's Publishing. They put out books where they talk and they talk to a lot of people and they make sure their sources are right and all that. And I don't know. There's every other week there's a discussion on Twitter about comic book journalism, and it's like, when somebody can put out a Netflix series like The Making of a Murderer, then that'll be comic book journalism. Like when you're truly investigating something, or like people, the way they slather over every little tidbit from Bleeding Cool, and it's like, no, that's not journalism either. And he doesn't say he is, but he's a muckraker. It's grocery store trash rags, when you go to Bleeding Cool. So now, comic journalism didn't even exist. Prove me wrong, fight me. Yeah, it's weird. It's frustrating. I love resource magazines. I mean, I love all that stuff but again, like, nobody's breaking Watergate, like that. When you think of journalism, like high concept journalism or stuff that somebody spends months on, I don't see it. So, but yeah, the CBR website is horrible.
I certainly agree. It's very difficult to find comic book news on any site. It's all TVs and movies. And I love comic book TVs and movies as much as anybody else, but boy, to try and find just an article and information about something upcoming is getting more and more difficult as time goes on.
Yeah. That's why I always, when people start talking smack about podcasts, the ones that actually do give their recommendations for the stuff that's not Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, or Image, it's like, okay, they actually supported your book, so why don't you support podcasts more, I actually, what's so funny, speaking of that, so I've been on a little bit of a kick in the past year or two about trying to find comics in previews that were from Latino creators or South American creators or Spanish creators. And usually, coming out of like Fantagraphics and Black Mask Studios and what's the other one? Amigo Comics. There's like a bunch of publishers and that do really nice things with that. And I just gave like a 2-sentence nod, a 3-sentence nod on a book from I think it was from either Fantagraphics or Drawn and Quarterly. And it was a book by Ezequiel Garcia, and gave a little link on my site, right? And I got an email from him, and he said, "Thank you for recommending my book." Like, that was it. And I was like, "Oh my God, that's crazy." But like that to me, I think, or to go back to like our convention talk, like going through Artist Alley and discovering some creator and going, oh my God, that you're really good. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, in about a year or two, they're doing major comics. So, I don't know. I think there's more out there that people could be recommending, and instead they're busy screaming on Twitter like I am at 3 a.m.
Well, someone's got to do it at 3.
Yeah. Speaking of, the high muckety mucks of the mainstream comics, guess who is getting a honorary doctorate degree from? So the school that I work at has a new president, so they're doing an inauguration, and they're handing out honorary degrees. Which I'm sort of like, boy, I wish you could have handed mine out too, so I have to pay so much for it. Honorary doctorate degree on Masters of Big Screen Entertainment. Guess who's coming? So, 3 years ago, Neil Gaiman actually spoke at one of the commencements, right? So every now and then we get, I think Linda Barry might have as well, but they're giving out an honorary doctorate to Mr. Stan Lee.
Wow.
That would have been my guess.
Yeah. So, in October, I'll be sitting in the audience,
That's awesome.
I'm going to shout, Excelsior! Where are you hiding Jack Kirby's bones?
Oh!
Oh, but that ching.
Right. So where do I go to collect the speaker's fee? Is it over there?
So, that should be fun.
I sense the lull.
Just been
Yeah. Once again.
crouched and waiting to pounce by pressing that.
Waiting for Murd to be in here and pounce.
Time for our trivia segment, Muddle the Murd, where you can try and submit some questions to Muddle the Murd. And what they're playing for right now is still from our stash of artwork. We're playing for it now a Tom Hodges Wonder Woman sketch. And up again for his second attempt is Chris Brawley, a.k.a. Brawlinator on the forums.
Brawlinator.
All right. Question 1, pre-1970s Marvel. Black Bolt, ruler of the Inhumans, demonstrated the destructive power. Let me try this again. Pre-1970s Marvel. Black Bolt, ruler of the Inhumans, demonstrated the destructive power of his voice as an infant with a screaming temper tantrum. He was immediately placed under exile in a soundproof chamber until he could be trusted never to speak again, no matter what. At what age was he finally trusted to be released from exile?
52.
No help from the peanut gallery.
Somewhere in his teens, I think. I'm going to say 18 years old.
Oh, 19th.
Darn it.
Black Bolt's father, Agon, greeted him on his 19th birthday with news of his freedom in the Inhumans origin backup tale originally printed in the Mighty Thor, number 149. All right. Question 2, 1970 to 2000 DC. In Superman number 308 from 1977, who convinced Superman that Krypton's existence was actually just a delusion that Clark himself had created because he couldn't deal with the fact that he was actually a mutant and not an alien from a destroyed planet?
Interesting scheme. Haven't read that story, and it's probably going to... I'll be interested to hear the answer, but I'm going to say Brainiac.
Answer, Superman's cousin, Supergirl.
Huh.
She lied to him because she was concerned over his mental health due to his recent attacks on oil supertankers in an effort to defend the Earth against destroying itself with pollution.
Superman is an eco-activist, huh?
All right. 0 for 2. Question 3. Post-2000 Independence. In the recent... Well, you got it right there. It's recent. I kid. In the recent Bloodshot Reborn Annual 2016 from Valiant Comics...
That is recent.
Our hero is dispatched to take out the Silver Lake Slasher, who is an obvious homage by writer Jeff Lemire based on the Friday the 13th movie baddies, Jason, who terrorized Camp Crystal Lake. What is the Silver Lake Slasher's name?
Huh. Yeah, I obviously have no idea about this. All right, so if it's obviously a play on Jason Voorhees, what's a good play on Jason? Perhaps the name of another Greek hero? What Greek hero has a name common enough to be believable? I don't know. Theseus.
No, Jacob.
Okay. Even more obvious than I made it.
Okay. Well, Chris.
So, the Brawlinator has muddled the murd.
Muddled the murd as I pass over the art to Murd, who mails it at his own expense to the winners of
That's
Muddled
right.
Murd.
Comes out of my own pocket. Tom Hodges' Wonder Woman study in pen and marker. Heading your way, Chris. Congratulations.
All right, and if you want to send in your own submission, please send your questions to comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. Well, you give the...
Yep. Don't forget, it needs to be 3 questions, 1 Marvel, 1 DC, 1 some other company. They also need to break down time-wise as 1 question about comics prior to the year 1970, 1 question about comics between 1970 and 2000 inclusive, and 1 question about comics post-2000 AD. And please don't forget to include the answers to those questions.
Yes.
Just send them along to comicgeekspeak@gmail.com.
Keep sending those submissions, people.
It'll be something else from that portfolio of art and sketches that was sent to us by a mysterious donor.
That's correct.
I like Benefactor.
Well, yes, okay. He has done a benefice to us, so yes, he's a benefactor too.
Okay. So has anybody read anything recently want to speak about? Talk about. What's the matter with me?
Peter?
Nothing current.
Yeah, me too. Oh, this has been the summer of Infinity Inc. for me. Because I just, at the last Wild Pig sale, I finally completed my run. So I've been sort of marching through that over the past couple of months. And I'm about halfway through. I think I'm into the late 30s. It's the story where Infinity Inc. and the Global Guardians team up to take down the modern-day inheritor of the old Injustice Society of the World team, Injustice Unlimited. So it's artwork at this point by... It started out with Jerry Ordway art, of course, in the first large arc. But by this point, it is Todd McFarlane breaking the panel borders, as Peter mentioned earlier, and doing some really creative things with page layouts, too. And Tony DeZuniga, the late classic artist, did a lot of stuff for DC in the Bronze Age. He was doing the inks over McFarlane's art by the late 30 issues of that series. And it's going through the growing pains of It's a series about Earth 2 characters somehow surviving and living on for several years after Crisis on Infinite Earths. So it's interesting to see how it weathers that transition. And then this is the kind of thing that Peter and I will probably talk about on a Crisis Tapes episode at some later time. But it's been fun. And the ride, as I've said, is only half over because the series lasted past its... I'm going to have to go get the Overstreet guide to remind myself how many issues it actually did last, but more than 50, I'm sure.
Yes, because I remember, I think the first issue that McFarlane came on, actually he came on, I think, in an All-Star Squadron issue, I think was his first artwork.
Yeah,
like
I want to say number 27.
Like a Dr. Fate.
It was a Dr. Fate story.
Right. Because I always, when I look at original art, whether it's online or at cons, it's like, oh, this is a great page, and Infinity Inc. Oh, it was done by McFarlane. There goes, I'll never get that because it's,
That just jumped that.
53 issues.
53, excellent.
I have, and this is where maybe you guys have read more of this than I did. Over the years, I have acquired a complete run of All-Star Squadron, Infinity Inc., and Young All-Stars, but I have yet to read any of them.
That's one of the things that's on my reread mind. I need to reread that. Like I'm sort of going back and reading some of the Wally West Flash, scattered about, and I did find my copy of Legends trade. So like we talked about, I now have that, so I want to read that again. But even go back a little further because I love that stuff. Roy Thomas and just the Earth 2, the Crisis,
sure,
multiple.
I think that was oh gosh, I just lost my train of thought. I completely forgot what I was going to say about that. I know I want to reread it. I want to read it very badly. I'm kind of ashamed that
I'd read it well if I were you.
that I acquired them. It's got to be 10 years since I've gotten some of them, and I just have not made the time to sit down and start with one and just, try one every day or every other day or something. Should be simple. Just put the box by the chair and pull out an issue. But, yeah, it gets put on the back burner all the time.
Look, this is how I think of it. Everybody's got to go shit once a day. So take a book. And that's at least one comic you can read, or if you're like me, about 3, because I stay on for about 30 minutes. So.
And then you take a shit.
Oh, gosh, Peter, as we get older, some things just don't change.
Well, have we shot our proverbial bolt here, gentlemen?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
It was a good fun episode.
It was a good fun. Just hey, let's do a show.
Hey, a movie.
All right, so you're getting ready there for me, Shane? There?
I'm ready.
You're ready?
I'm ready.
Well, hang on a minute. I'm not quite ready for
That's the first that's happened in a while.
All right, you wise guy. Here we
Waiting
go.
on you, Mr. Pants.
Visit us at comicgeekspeak.com. To send us an email, the address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. To leave a voicemail, the number is 267-702-6642. Stop by thecomicforums.vanillaforums.com and let us know what things you have to say about our Hodgy Podgy episode. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. Thanks to everyone who contributes to the episode by benefacting or sending in questions. Please continue to do so. And as always, and thanks, Peter, for coming on for an episode. That was a lot of fun having you on and talking some musical stuff in the beginning. I could do that for an hour or two because you have a wealth of knowledge I don't have. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time. You did!
You got it on Wednesday, and it was like about going to the volume up. These guys will talk about it, everything that geeks love. From cakes and laser beams, opinions like the seasons.
You didn't even give Peter a chance to say bye or anything. Just boom!